The unexpected encounter. Cristiano Ronaldo had always been known for his humility, despite his immense fame and wealth. On an ordinary afternoon, after finishing a hectic charity event in Madrid, he decided to take a much-deserved break. His destination was Dubai, where he planned to relax for a few days before heading back to training. Ronaldo chose to fly first class, as always, hoping for a peaceful journey. As he boarded the private first-class cabin, he smiled politely at the crew and other passengers. Even though he was recognized immediately, Ronaldo's calm demeanor often made him seem approachable. Dressed in a simple white shirt and blue jeans, he looked more like a regular passenger than a global icon. The plane began boarding, and soon, a middle-aged woman entered the first-class section. Her appearance was striking, but not in a welcoming way. She wore an expensive outfit paired with oversized sunglasses, holding a designer bag that seemed to scream her wealth. From the moment she entered, she exuded an air of entitlement. She glanced around the cabin, scrutinizing the other passengers as if assessing whether they were worthy of sharing the space with her. When her eyes fell on Ronaldo, a flicker of recognition flashed across her face. However, it was clear she wasn't a fan. Instead of acknowledging him respectfully or simply ignoring him, her expression twisted into one of disdain. She whispered something to the flight attendant, who seemed uncomfortable but nodded politely. Ronaldo noticed but decided to ignore her. After all, he was used to public scrutiny, both good and bad. He put on his headphones and began scrolling through his phone, trying to drown out the world. The woman, however, seemed determined to make her presence known. She loudly complained about the seating arrangement, the temperature, and even the cabin crew's uniforms. Her voice carried across the cabin, disrupting the peaceful atmosphere. Eventually, she turned her attention back to Ronaldo. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Are you sure you're in the right place? First class isn't for everyone, you know." Ronaldo looked up, surprised. He removed his headphones and smiled politely. "Yes, I'm in the right place. Thank you for your concern." Her words had drawn the attention of the other passengers, who began murmuring amongst themselves. Some recognized Ronaldo and looked at the woman in disbelief, while others waited to see how the interaction would unfold. The woman wasn't done. "I'm just saying," she continued, her tone sharpening. "People like you don't usually belong here. Maybe you should check with the crew." It was clear her words carried more than just a hint of prejudice. Ronaldo's smile faltered for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "I appreciate your suggestion," he said calmly, "but I think I'll stay." The tension in the cabin was palpable. The other passengers were visibly uncomfortable, and the flight attendants hesitated, unsure how to intervene without escalating the situation. Despite the insult, Ronaldo chose to remain calm. He had dealt with far worse situations in the public eye. His focus was on diffusing the situation, not fueling it. "I hope you have a pleasant flight," he said, putting his headphones back on. But the woman wasn't satisfied. She called over a flight attendant and began loudly complaining about Ronaldo. "This man doesn't belong here. I don't know why people like him are allowed in first class. Do you know who I am? I'll report this to the airline." The flight attendant tried to calm her down, but the woman's voice grew louder. "It's unacceptable. I paid a fortune for this seat, and I expect to be surrounded by people of my caliber." Ronaldo, who had been silent until now, finally decided to address the situation. He stood up, his tall frame towering over her. His voice was steady but firm. "Madam, I understand you're upset, but I assure you I'm here just like everyone else, to enjoy my flight. Let's not make this unpleasant for everyone." His words carried a weight that silenced the cabin. The woman opened her mouth to respond but was interrupted by the captain's voice announcing their imminent departure. She huffed and sank back into her seat, but not without muttering a few more insults under her breath. As the plane took off, Ronaldo leaned back and closed his eyes, determined to focus on his relaxation. However, little did he know that this encounter was far from over. What happened next would not only reveal the truth about the woman, but also showcase Ronaldo's true character in a way that would leave everyone speechless. The truth unveiled. The flight was now cruising at a steady altitude, but the atmosphere in the first-class cabin was anything but calm. The woman, still fuming, continued to shoot disdainful glances at Cristiano Ronaldo. Her muttered complaints, though quieter than before, were still audible to the nearby passengers, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. Ronaldo, however, remained composed. Years of dealing with public attention, both positive and negative, had taught him the value of patience. He glanced out of the window, watching the clouds drift by, and let out a quiet sigh. It wasn't the relaxing journey he had hoped for, but he knew better than to let someone's negativity ruin his mood. A flight attendant approached Ronaldo with an apologetic smile. "Mr. Ronaldo, is there anything we can get you? We're so sorry for the disturbance." Ronaldo smiled warmly. "No need to apologize. I'm fine, thank you. Just doing your job is more than enough." The genuine kindness in his tone seemed to uplift the flight attendant, who nodded and hurried away. His small act of understanding didn't go unnoticed by the other passengers, some of whom smiled in silent approval. Meanwhile, the woman continued to sip her champagne, her irritation simmering beneath the surface. She decided she wasn't done. With an exaggerated sigh, she leaned over to the man seated across the aisle, a businessman who had been quietly observing the events. "Can you believe this?" she said, her voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "People like him in first class. What's the world coming to? This is supposed to be exclusive, not some playground for, well, you know." The businessman frowned but said nothing, clearly uncomfortable. The woman seemed to interpret his silence as agreement and continued her tirade. "I'm sure he got here on some discount or promotion. There's no way he can afford this legitimately." Ronaldo finally turned to look at her, his calm demeanor unwavering. "Madam," he said, his voice steady but with an edge of firmness, "I've ignored your comments out of respect for the other passengers, but I think it's time we address this." The woman smirked. "Oh, really? And what do you have to say? Enlighten me." Ronaldo stood, his presence commanding immediate attention. "I'm not sure what you think you know about me, but I'll tell you this. I'm here because I paid for this seat, just like you and everyone else in this cabin. My past or where I come from doesn't define my worth. Neither does yours." His word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. The other passengers watched, some nodding in silent agreement, while others waited to see how the woman would respond. She scoffed, clearly unimpressed. "Well, aren't you the saint? You think a little speech is going to make me respect you? Please, people like you." Before she could finish, a member of the flight crew approached. "Madam," the attendant said firmly, "we've received complaints about your behavior. If you continue to disrupt the cabin, we'll have to report this to the authorities upon landing." The woman's face turned red with embarrassment and anger. She opened her mouth to protest but stopped herself, realizing she was drawing even more attention. With a huff, she sank back into her seat, glaring at Ronaldo as if this was somehow his fault. For a moment, it seemed like peace had returned to the cabin. But then, something unexpected happened. A young boy, no older than 8, cautiously approached Ronaldo. He had been sitting with his parents a few rows back and had been quietly observing the entire ordeal. Clutching a small notepad and pen, he hesitated before speaking. "Excuse me, Mr. Ronaldo," the boy said softly, his voice trembling with nervousness. "I just wanted to say you're my hero. Can I please have your autograph?" Ronaldo's face lit up with a genuine smile. "Of course, young man. What's your name?" "Liam," the boy replied, his cheeks flushing with excitement. Ronaldo signed the notepad with a personalized message. "To Liam, always follow your dreams. Your friend, Cristiano Ronaldo." He handed the notepad back to the boy, who beamed with joy. "Thank you so much, Mr. Ronaldo," Liam said before hurrying back to his seat. The interaction seemed to shift the mood in the cabin. Several passengers smiled, and a few even applauded quietly. The woman, however, looked even more annoyed. She muttered something under her breath, but remained silent. Ronaldo returned to his seat, but the incident had sparked a new wave of whispers among the passengers. Some began sharing their own stories about Ronaldo, his acts of kindness, his philanthropy, and his rise from humble beginnings to global stardom. It was clear that many in the cabin admired him, and their words seemed to carry weight. As the flight continued, the woman's discomfort grew. It became evident that she had underestimated who Ronaldo was, not just as a celebrity, but as a person. Still, her pride wouldn't let her admit it, and she remained quietly fuming in her seat. Then something truly unexpected happened. A member of the airline's executive team, who had been traveling in the same cabin, approached Ronaldo with a warm smile. "Mr. Ronaldo," he said, extending his hand, "it's an honor to have you on board. I just wanted to personally thank you for choosing our airline." Ronaldo shook his hand graciously. "Thank you. It's been a pleasant journey." The executive hesitated for a moment before adding, "I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I've been following your career for years. Your story has inspired millions, myself included." Ronaldo smiled. "That means a lot. Thank you." The executive then turned to address the entire cabin. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge someone truly special on board today. Cristiano Ronaldo is not just one of the greatest athletes of our time, but also a person who embodies humility, generosity, and perseverance. It's an honor to have him with us." The cabin erupted into applause. Even those who had remained silent earlier joined in, their admiration evident. Ronaldo, ever humble, nodded and smiled, his gratitude shining through. The woman's face turned a deeper shade of red. She suddenly looked very small in her seat, her earlier arrogance replaced with visible discomfort. She avoided eye contact with everyone, especially Ronaldo. As the applause died down, Ronaldo leaned back in his seat, his thoughts drifting to his journey, the challenges, the triumphs, and the lessons he had learned along the way. He had faced prejudice and judgment before, but he had never let it define him. And he wasn't about to start now. Little did anyone know, the journey was far from over. What awaited them upon landing would reveal a twist that no one in the cabin, not even Ronaldo, could have anticipated. The grand revelation. As the flight neared its destination, the atmosphere in the first-class cabin had shifted significantly. Most passengers were now engrossed in their own conversations, many of which revolved around Cristiano Ronaldo. The earlier tension caused by the woman's behavior had largely dissipated, but she sat stiffly in her seat, occasionally stealing embarrassed glances at Ronaldo. It was clear she was still fuming, though she no longer dared to voice her thoughts. Ronaldo, on the other hand, appeared unbothered. He had resumed scrolling through his phone, occasionally typing out messages to his team and family. He was looking forward to a quiet few days in Dubai, far removed from the spotlight, though he knew such peace was often short-lived in his life. As the plane began its descent, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be landing shortly. On behalf of our crew, we thank you for flying with us today." The woman, now visibly impatient, checked her designer watch and muttered under her breath, "Finally, this has been the most unpleasant flight of my life." The businessman seated across from her, who had remained silent throughout the journey, finally spoke up. "Perhaps it would have been more pleasant if you hadn't spent so much time making it unpleasant for others." His words caught her off guard. She turned to glare at him, but said nothing, her lips pressed into a thin line. The other passengers, overhearing the remark, exchanged amused glances. Moments later, the plane landed smoothly at Dubai International Airport. The passengers in first class began gathering their belongings, preparing to disembark. Ronaldo stood up, his tall frame drawing immediate attention. He retrieved his carry-on bag from the overhead compartment and smiled warmly at the crew members, thanking them for their service. As he prepared to leave the cabin, the young boy, Liam, approached him again, this time accompanied by his parents. "Thank you again, Mr. Ronaldo," the boy said, his eyes shining with admiration. Ronaldo crouched slightly to meet the boy's gaze. "You're welcome, Liam. Remember, always work hard and believe in yourself." Liam nodded enthusiastically, and his parents thanked Ronaldo for his kindness. The interaction was brief but heartwarming, leaving a lasting impression on everyone who witnessed it. As Ronaldo walked toward the exit, the woman stood up and deliberately positioned herself in front of him, blocking his path. "I hope this is the last time I have to endure such an experience," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Ronaldo raised an eyebrow but didn't respond. Instead, he stepped aside, allowing her to exit first. His gesture of patience and grace only highlighted her pettiness. Once outside the plane, the woman's arrogance seemed to return in full force. She strutted through the airport with her nose in the air, completely unaware of the surprise waiting for her. The first hint of something unusual came when she reached the VIP lounge. A group of airline executives stood near the entrance, their attention focused on Ronaldo, who had just arrived. The executives greeted him with warm smiles and firm handshakes, their respect for him evident. The woman paused, her curiosity piqued. "What's all this about?" she asked one of the staff members nearby. The staff member hesitated before responding. "That's Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo. He's not just a passenger. He's a major stakeholder in our airline." The woman's jaw dropped. "What? You mean he owns the airline?" "Not entirely, but he's a significant part of it," the staff member replied. "He's one of our most valued partners." The revelation hit her like a ton of bricks. Her face turned pale as she processed the information. She had spent the entire flight belittling a man who not only had every right to be in first class, but also had a vested interest in the airline itself. Meanwhile, Ronaldo, oblivious to her reaction, was engaged in conversation with the executives. They discussed the airline's operations, upcoming projects, and his plans for the future. Despite his fame and wealth, Ronaldo's genuine interest and humility in these matters impressed everyone around him. The woman, now feeling utterly humiliated, tried to slip away unnoticed. But as she turned to leave, one of the executives called out to her, "Madam, a moment, please." She froze, her heart pounding. Turning slowly, she forced a smile. "Yes." The executive's tone was polite but firm. "We've received reports about your behavior during the flight. We value all our passengers, but we cannot condone actions that disrupt the experience for others." The woman's face flushed red. I didn't mean any harm. I was just." The executive interrupted her. "We hope this serves as a reminder to treat everyone with respect, regardless of appearances. It's a principle we uphold strongly as an airline." The woman stammered, trying to come up with a response, but ultimately, she nodded and walked away hurriedly, her head lowered in shame. As she disappeared into the crowd, Ronaldo glanced in her direction. He hadn't heard the full exchange but could tell from her body language that she was embarrassed. Instead of feeling vindicated, he felt a pang of sympathy. He believed in second chances and hoped that this experience might inspire her to reflect on her actions. The airline executives escorted Ronaldo to a private car waiting outside. As he stepped into the sleek vehicle, he couldn't help but think about the encounter. It was a reminder of how far he had come, from a boy with humble beginnings in Madeira to a global icon with influence that extended far beyond the football field. The car pulled away from the airport, heading toward his luxurious hotel. Ronaldo leaned back in his seat, his thoughts drifting to the people who had supported him along the way. His family, his friends, and his fans. They were the reason he remained grounded, even in the face of adversity. Little did he know, the woman's story didn't end there. What happened next would reveal whether she had truly learned her lesson, or if she would continue down the same path. And for Ronaldo, his time in Dubai was about to take an unexpected turn that would test his character once again. A twist of fate. As Cristiano Ronaldo settled into his hotel suite, he reflected on the events of the day. The encounter with the rude woman on the plane was just another example of how prejudice and entitlement could blind people to kindness and humanity. Yet, Ronaldo's approach had always been to rise above such negativity. It was one of the many lessons he learned throughout his journey to greatness. His hotel suite in Dubai was nothing short of spectacular, spanning an entire floor with panoramic views of the city. However, Ronaldo didn't spend much time admiring the luxurious surroundings. Instead, he quickly showered and changed into casual attire, ready to enjoy a quiet dinner with his close friend and business associate, Omar, a local entrepreneur. Omar had arranged for them to dine at a private restaurant owned by one of his friends. It was a small, exclusive place known for its excellent Middle Eastern cuisine and tranquil ambience. Ronaldo loved such low-key settings where he could enjoy good food and conversation without the pressures of being in the spotlight. As he entered the restaurant, the staff greeted him warmly, their excitement evident but respectfully subdued. Omar was already waiting at a secluded corner table, and the two men embraced like old friends. "Welcome to Dubai, Cristiano," Omar said with a grin. "How was your flight?" Ronaldo chuckled. "Let's just say it was eventful." Omar raised an eyebrow. "Eventful? Do I even want to know?" Ronaldo recounted the encounter with the woman on the plane, keeping his tone light and humorous. Omar listened intently, shaking his head in disbelief. "Unbelievable," Omar said when Ronaldo finished. "Some people will never learn. But it sounds like you handled it with your usual grace." "I try," Ronaldo said with a smile. "But I hope she takes something positive away from it. Everyone deserves a chance to grow." Omar nodded. "That's why people respect you, my friend. You lead by example." The two men spent the next couple of hours enjoying their meal and discussing various topics: football, business ventures, and life in general. By the time they left the restaurant, Ronaldo felt a renewed sense of peace. The negativity of the earlier encounter had all but faded from his mind. Meanwhile, across the city, the woman from the plane, whose name was Evelyn, sat alone in the lounge of an upscale hotel. She was nursing a cocktail, her mind racing with thoughts about the day's events. She couldn't shake the humiliation she had felt upon learning that Ronaldo was not just a passenger but a part owner of the airline. The realization had been a slap in the face, forcing her to confront her own behavior. Evelyn was no stranger to privilege. Born into a wealthy family, she had never had to struggle for anything in life. Her parents had instilled in her a sense of superiority, teaching her that her status set her apart from others. But today, for the first time, she felt the weight of her arrogance. The image of Ronaldo's calm, respectful demeanor in the face of her hostility replayed in her mind like a broken record. She sighed and sipped her drink, wondering why it bothered her so much. It wasn't as if she hadn't been rude to people before. But something about Ronaldo, his kindness, his grace, had struck a chord. It made her feel small, not because of his fame or wealth, but because of the way he had carried himself. As she sat there, lost in thought, a notification pinged on her phone. Curious, she unlocked it and opened a news article that had just been published. Cristiano Ronaldo praised for handling onboard incident with grace. The article detailed the events of the flight, painting Ronaldo as a beacon of humility and kindness. While it didn't name Evelyn directly, the description of the entitled passenger was unmistakable. The comment section was flooded with praise for Ronaldo and criticism for the unnamed woman. Evelyn's cheeks burned with shame. She had always prided herself on her social standing, but now she realized that her behavior had left her exposed. She quickly closed the article, unable to read further. The next day, an unexpected meeting. The following morning, Ronaldo decided to visit one of the charitable organizations he supported in Dubai. The organization provided educational resources and opportunities for underprivileged children, a cause close to Ronaldo's heart. He had arranged to spend the day meeting the children, participating in activities, and discussing ways to expand the organization's reach. As he arrived at the charity's headquarters, he was greeted with cheers and applause from the children and staff. The joy on their faces was infectious, and Ronaldo felt an immense sense of fulfillment. He spent hours interacting with the kids, sharing stories from his own childhood, and encouraging them to dream big. Unbeknownst to him, Evelyn was also at the headquarters that day. She had been invited by a friend who worked for the organization, though she had initially been reluctant to come. Her friend had insisted, saying it would be a good opportunity for Evelyn to get involved in something meaningful. When Evelyn entered the main hall, she froze. There, surrounded by children and staff, was Cristiano Ronaldo. She felt a wave of panic and embarrassment, unsure of how to proceed. She considered leaving immediately, but decided against it. Something told her this encounter was meant to happen. As the event progressed, Evelyn observed Ronaldo from a distance. She saw the way he interacted with the children, his genuine warmth and patience shining through. It was a stark contrast to the image she had formed of him on the plane. For the first time, she saw him not as a celebrity, but as a human being, a kind, compassionate person who used his influence to make a difference. Toward the end of the event, Ronaldo noticed Evelyn standing near the back of the room. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither of them moved. Then, to her surprise, he smiled and gestured for her to come over. Heart pounding, Evelyn approached him hesitantly. "Mr. Ronaldo," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to see you either," Ronaldo said, his tone neutral but not unkind. "What brings you here?" Evelyn hesitated, then decided to be honest. "A friend invited me. I wasn't sure if I should come, but I'm glad I did." Ronaldo nodded. "It's a good cause. These kids inspire me every time I visit." Evelyn looked down, unable to meet his gaze. "I owe you an apology," she said finally, "for what happened on the plane. I was out of line." Ronaldo studied her for a moment, then smiled gently. "Apology accepted. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong." Evelyn felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you. I have a lot to learn." "We all do," Ronaldo said. "The important thing is being willing to grow." As they stood there, surrounded by the laughter of children, Evelyn realized that this moment was a turning point for her. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt the stirrings of genuine humility and a desire to change. And for Ronaldo, it was another reminder of the power of kindness and understanding, values he had always strived to uphold, both on and off the field. A new beginning. The charity event continued in full swing, with laughter and excitement filling the air. Cristiano Ronaldo, who had been deeply engaged with the children, was now surrounded by a group of them as they eagerly showed off their art projects. Despite the earlier awkwardness of seeing Evelyn, he was at ease, focused on bringing smiles to the kids' faces. Evelyn, on the other hand, remained at the edge of the room, watching the interactions. She felt out of place, yet strangely compelled to stay. The sincerity of the children, the passion of the volunteers, and Ronaldo's effortless way of connecting with everyone had created an atmosphere she hadn't experienced before. For someone used to lavish galas and exclusive social circles, this environment felt refreshingly authentic. Her friend, Layla, who had invited her, noticed Evelyn's hesitance and walked over. "Evelyn, I'm so glad you came," Layla said, her voice warm and encouraging. "How are you finding it?" Evelyn forced a smile. "It's different, but in a good way. Everyone here seems so genuine." Layla nodded. "That's the beauty of it. When people come together for a cause bigger than themselves, you see the best of humanity." Evelyn glanced at Ronaldo, who was now kneeling to help a little girl tie her shoelace. The simple act struck her deeply. "He's not what I thought he'd be," she admitted. Layla followed her gaze and smiled knowingly. "Cristiano, he's one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever met. He doesn't just donate money. He shows up, spends time, and connects with people. That's why everyone respects him." Evelyn nodded, her heart heavy with guilt. "I misjudged him. I was horrible to him on the flight. Layla's eyes widened. You were on the same flight as Cristiano Ronaldo. And you were. Wait, what happened? Evelyn hesitated, then recounted the incident in a low voice. Layla listened intently, her expression shifting from surprise to disappointment. Evelyn, that's not okay. But the fact that you're here now, thinking about this, shows that you're trying to change. That's a start. Evelyn sighed. I don't even know where to begin. Start by helping, Layla suggested. There's always something to do here. The kids love meeting new people, and the staff could use an extra pair of hands. Just jump in. Valen steps up. Taking Layla's advice, Evelyn hesitantly approached one of the activity tables where a group of children was painting. She introduced herself awkwardly, unsure of how to engage. But the children, in their innocence, welcomed her with open arms. Are you here to paint with us? A little boy asked, holding out a paintbrush. Evelyn smiled, genuinely touched by his enthusiasm. I'd love to. She sat down and began painting with the children, gradually feeling her discomfort melt away. Their laughter and chatter were infectious, and for the first time in a long while, she felt truly at ease. It was a stark contrast to the life she was used to, one filled with superficial conversations and empty pursuits. Ronaldo noticed her efforts from across the room. He was pleasantly surprised to see her interacting with the children, her earlier arrogance replaced with a quiet humility. It was a side of her he hadn't expected, and it made him hopeful that their encounter might have sparked a change. As the event drew to a close, the staff gathered everyone for a group photo. Ronaldo, standing in the center, beckoned Evelyn to join. She hesitated but eventually stepped forward, feeling a mix of gratitude and nervousness. The children crowded around them, their smiles lighting up the room. After the photo, Ronaldo turned to Evelyn. You did well today, he said, his tone encouraging. Evelyn looked at him, surprised. Thank you. I wasn't sure if I should even be here. Ronaldo smiled. Everyone starts somewhere. What matters is that you showed up. An unexpected offer. As the event wound down, Layla introduced Evelyn to the charity's director, a kind-hearted woman named Fatima. They discussed the organization's work and how Evelyn could get more involved. We're always looking for volunteers, Fatima said. Whether it's helping with events, mentoring the kids, or supporting our fundraising efforts, there's plenty to do. Evelyn nodded, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. I'd like to help however I can. Ronaldo, who had been speaking with some of the staff nearby, overheard the conversation and joined them. Fatima, he said, if Evelyn's serious about helping, I think she could bring a lot to the table. Fatima smiled. That's high praise coming from you, Cristiano. Evelyn looked at Ronaldo, surprised once again by his generosity. Despite her earlier behavior, he was vouching for her, giving her a chance to prove herself. Thank you, she said softly. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Ronaldo replied. The journey ahead. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn immersed herself in the charity's work. She attended planning meetings, helped organize events, and spent time with the children. It was challenging at first, but she gradually found her footing. The experience was transformative, forcing her to confront her own biases and reevaluate her priorities. Ronaldo continued to support the organization from behind the scenes, occasionally checking in on Evelyn's progress. He saw a genuine change in her, a newfound humility and a willingness to grow. It reminded him of his own journey, the struggles and lessons that had shaped him into the person he was today. One evening, after a particularly successful fundraiser, Evelyn approached Ronaldo. I wanted to thank you, she said, for giving me a chance, for not holding that first impression against me. Ronaldo smiled. Everyone deserves a second chance, Evelyn. What matters is what you do with it. She nodded, her eyes filled with gratitude. I won't forget this. As she walked away, Ronaldo felt a sense of satisfaction. He had always believed in the power of kindness and understanding, And this experience had only reaffirmed that belief. For Evelyn, it was the beginning of a new chapter, a journey of self-discovery and growth. And for the children and staff of the charity, it was another reminder of the profound impact that compassion and second chances could have on people's lives. Redemption in motion. Weeks turned into months, and Evelyn's transformation was becoming evident to everyone who knew her. From an entitled and dismissive individual, she had grown into a compassionate and thoughtful person, deeply invested in the charity work. She had gone from simply attending events to taking on a leadership role, organizing initiatives to help underprivileged children gain access to better education and health care. Cristiano Ronaldo, meanwhile, kept a watchful but unobtrusive eye on her progress. His busy schedule often took him to different corners of the world, but he made it a point to stay connected with the charity in Dubai. He was pleased to see Evelyn thriving and finding her purpose. For him, it was yet another reminder of how impactful small acts of kindness could be. A special event. One day, Ronaldo received a call from Fatima, the charity's director. She explained that they were planning a major gala to celebrate the charity's achievements and raise funds for upcoming projects. The gala, she said, would be the biggest event they had ever organized, and she wanted Ronaldo to be the guest of honor. It would mean a lot to the children and the donors if you could attend. Fatima said, "Your presence always inspires people." Ronaldo didn't hesitate. "I'll be there," he promised. As the gala date approached, the charity staff worked tirelessly to ensure the event's success. Evelyn took on a central role in the planning, pouring her heart into every detail. She wanted the event to not only raise funds, but also showcase the real stories of the children whose lives had been changed by the charity's work. On the night of the gala, the venue was transformed into a stunning display of elegance and warmth. The walls were adorned with photos of the children, along with quotes about their dreams and aspirations. Each table featured handmade crafts created by the kids, adding a personal touch to the event. Evelyn arrived early, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown. For the first time in years, she felt a genuine sense of accomplishment, not because of her appearance or social status, but because of the impact she was making. She greeted guests warmly, guiding them through the exhibits and sharing stories about the charity's work. As the evening unfolded, Ronaldo made his entrance, greeted by applause and admiration from the attendees. He was dressed impeccably, but carried himself with his usual humility, stopping to greet the children and staff before taking his seat at the head table. When he saw Evelyn, he smiled and walked over. "You've done an amazing job," he said, his tone sincere. Evelyn's cheeks flushed with pride. "Thank you. It means a lot coming from you." An unlikely reunion. As the gala progressed, a surprise guest arrived. To everyone's astonishment, it was the businessman from the flight, the man who had witnessed Evelyn's behavior firsthand. His name was Richard, and he was one of the charity's longtime donors. Richard recognized Evelyn immediately and approached her with a raised eyebrow. "Well, well," he said, his tone teasing. "I didn't expect to see you here." Evelyn stiffened, unsure of how to respond. "Richard, I know what you must think of me." He waved her off. "Relax, Evelyn. I've been hearing good things about you from Fatima and the staff. It seems you've come a long way since that flight." She smiled nervously. "I've tried. This work has changed me." Richard nodded, his expression softening. "Good. We all have moments we're not proud of, but it's what we do afterward that defines us. Keep it up." The conversation, though brief, left Evelyn feeling both relieved and encouraged. It was a reminder that redemption was possible, not just in the eyes of others, but also in her own. Ronaldo's speech. The highlight of the evening was Ronaldo's speech. As he took the stage, the room fell silent, all eyes on him. "I want to thank everyone here tonight," he began, his voice steady and heartfelt. "This charity holds a special place in my heart because it represents something greater than all of us, the power of hope and opportunity. These children are the future, and every effort we make today is an investment in their tomorrow." He paused, letting his words sink in. "When I was a boy growing up in Madeira, I had dreams, big dreams. But I also had challenges. If it weren't for the support of my family and the people who believed in me, I wouldn't be standing here today. That's why I'm committed to giving back, because I know what it's like to need a helping hand." The audience erupted into applause, many moved to tears by his sincerity. Ronaldo's speech was a powerful reminder of why they were there and the impact they could make together. A heartfelt moment. After the speech, Ronaldo found Evelyn standing near the stage, wiping away a tear. He approached her quietly. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, her voice trembling. "That was incredible. Your story, your words, they touched me." Ronaldo smiled. "Thank you. But tonight isn't about me. It's about them. The kids." Evelyn looked at him, her eyes filled with emotion. "You've inspired me more than you'll ever know. I used to think success was about status and wealth, but now I see it's about making a difference." Ronaldo placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've already started making a difference, Evelyn. Keep going." An unexpected donation. As the gala neared its end, Fatima took the stage to announce the total funds raised. To everyone's amazement, the amount far exceeded their expectations, thanks in part to an anonymous donor who had contributed a substantial sum. The room buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Evelyn, too, was intrigued. She leaned over to Layla and whispered, "Do you know who it was?" Layla shook her head, but she had a hunch. Later, as the guests were leaving, Evelyn overheard Fatima thanking Ronaldo privately. "Your generosity never ceases to amaze me, Cristiano. That donation will change so many lives." Ronaldo smiled but shrugged it off. "It's not about the money, Fatima. It's about the impact." Evelyn felt a lump in her throat. Once again, Ronaldo had shown her what it meant to use one's privilege for good. It was a lesson she would carry with her forever. A turning point. As the night came to a close, Evelyn stood outside the venue, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. Ronaldo joined her, his hands in his pockets. "You did great tonight," he said. She turned to him, her eyes reflecting a newfound determination. "Thank you. And thank you for not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it." He smiled. "We all deserve second chances, Evelyn. The real question is what we do with them." As they parted ways, Evelyn knew her life had changed irrevocably. She wasn't just a socialite or a name on a guest list anymore. She was someone with purpose, someone striving to leave the world a little better than she found it. And for Ronaldo, the night was a testament to the power of kindness and redemption, proof that even the smallest gestures could spark the greatest transformations. A legacy of change. The weeks following the gala were transformative for Evelyn. The event had been a resounding success, raising enough funds to support the charity's projects for years to come. But for Evelyn, the impact went far beyond the numbers. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. One defined not by luxury and exclusivity, but by purpose and compassion. She threw herself into the charity's work with renewed energy, taking on a more hands-on role in the organization. She visited the children regularly, listening to their stories, mentoring them, and sharing her own experiences. She began to understand that real wealth wasn't measured in material possessions, but in the lives one touched and the legacy one left behind. A trip to Madeira. One day, Evelyn received an unexpected invitation from Cristiano Ronaldo. He was planning a trip to his hometown of Madeira to visit the youth football academy he had founded and wanted her to join him. "You've been doing amazing work," he told her. "I think you'd find this visit inspiring." Evelyn was honored, and despite her initial nervousness, accepted the invitation. A few days later, she found herself on a private jet bound for Madeira, sitting across from Ronaldo. Unlike their first flight together, this journey was filled with light-hearted conversation and laughter. The tension that had once defined their relationship was replaced with mutual respect and camaraderie. When they arrived in Madeira, Ronaldo took her on a tour of the island, showing her the places that had shaped his childhood. He brought her to his family's modest home, the football field where he had first learned to play, and the local community center where he had spent countless hours dreaming of a better future. The highlight of the trip was their visit to the youth academy. The children there idolized Ronaldo, not just for his achievements on the field, but for his generosity and dedication to their success. Evelyn watched as he interacted with them, offering advice, playing with them, and encouraging them to chase their dreams. Inspired by what she saw, Evelyn decided to contribute in her own way. She proposed a mentorship program that would connect the children with professionals in various fields, helping them explore careers beyond football. The idea was met with enthusiasm, and together, she and Ronaldo began laying the groundwork for the initiative. A test of character. While in Madeira, Evelyn faced an unexpected challenge. During a community outreach event, she encountered a young girl named Sophia, who had been struggling with self-esteem issues due to bullying at school. Sophia was shy and withdrawn, hesitant to engage with the other children. Evelyn recognized something of herself in Sophia, the fear of judgment, the struggle to fit in, and decided to reach out. Over the course of several days, she spent time with Sophia, encouraging her to share her feelings and helping her build her confidence. One afternoon, as they sat together under a tree overlooking the ocean, Sophia opened up. "I don't think I'll ever be good enough," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Evelyn's heart broke at the words. "Sophia," she said gently, "I used to feel the same way. I thought my worth came from what people thought of me, from how I looked or how much I had. But I was wrong. Your worth comes from who you are, the kindness in your heart, the dreams you hold, and the strength you show every day." Sophia looked up at her, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "Do you really think I'm strong?" "I know you are," Evelyn replied. "And I believe you can do amazing things." By the end of the trip, Sophia had begun to come out of her shell. She joined the other children in activities, laughed more freely, and even shared her dreams of becoming a teacher. For Evelyn, it was a profound moment, a reminder of how far she had come and the difference she could make. The ripple effect. As news of Evelyn's transformation and her work with the charity spread, she began to receive invitations to speak at events and share her story. At first, she was hesitant. Public speaking had never been her forte, and she worried about how people would perceive her. But Ronaldo encouraged her to step out of her comfort zone. "Your story matters," he told her. "People need to hear it, especially those who think they can't change. You're proof that they can." With his support, Evelyn took the plunge. She spoke at conferences, schools, and community events, sharing her journey from entitlement to empathy. Her vulnerability and honesty resonated with audiences, inspiring many to reflect on their own lives and take steps toward personal growth. Her speeches often included a heartfelt acknowledgement of Ronaldo's role in her transformation. "Sometimes, all it takes is one person believing in you," she would say. "For me, that person was Cristiano Ronaldo. He showed me the power of kindness and second chances." A fitting tribute. Years later, the charity hosted another gala, this time to celebrate its 10th anniversary. The event was held in a grand hall, attended by dignitaries, celebrities, and supporters from around the world. Evelyn, now a respected philanthropist and advocate, was one of the keynote speakers. When it was her turn to take the stage, she looked out at the audience, her heart full of gratitude. "Tonight, we celebrate not just the milestones we've achieved, but the lives we've touched," she began. "This journey has taught me that no one is beyond redemption, and everyone has the power to make a difference." She paused, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Ronaldo, who sat in the front row, smiling proudly. "I want to thank someone who believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. Cristiano, your kindness changed my life. And because of you, I've had the privilege of helping others change theirs." The audience erupted into applause, and Ronaldo stood to give her a standing ovation. In that moment, Evelyn felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had come full circle, from someone who looked down on others to someone who lifted them up. The legacy lives on. As the gala came to an end, Ronaldo and Evelyn stood together, watching the children play in a nearby room. "You've come a long way," Ronaldo said, his voice filled with pride. "So have we," Evelyn replied. "And we're just getting started." Their journey was far from over, but they both knew that the seeds they had planted would continue to grow, touching countless lives in the years to come. Together, they had proven that kindness and perseverance could overcome even the greatest obstacles, and that redemption was always within reach.